John?
I'm adjusting my light.
John? John? I'm all alone here. There you go.
I'm adjusting my light.
I got you. I started saying your name because
I am adjusting my
my
light.
light.
I haven't recorded anything. Oh, we're recording. Oh, shit, we're recording.
Alex Palou gets his second IndyCar championship in 3 years. Max Verstappen breaks the Formula One record. And Kyle Larson gets a great momentum going into the playoffs after a win at Darlington. All that and more on the Flag to Flag podcast.
Welcome to episode 5, I believe. 5th episode of the Flag to Flag podcast here with yours truly, John, the motorsport enthusiast, and Mr. Chad Barker. We've had a great weekend of racing. A couple championships already, a couple already decided. A couple on their way to becoming champions. Possibly Max Verstappen winning a championship. Probably going to happen. Kyle Larson going to win a championship. Might happen. But a lot to talk about on today's episode of the Flag to Flag podcast. But got to say, happy Labor Day to everybody. College football's back too. Got a lot going on in the world right now, which is great. Football's back this week, so a lot of good things to talk about.
You're from UT, so you're from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, so you watch a bunch of college football.
I am a proud alum.
There you go. Well, my school, University of Northwestern Ohio, actually doesn't have football. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't even hear what you said, but I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't watch football much to begin with. There's only one There's only one type of football I watch. Brentwood High School varsity football. Brentwood High School varsity soccer.
I gotcha.
Because I'll give him a quick shout out. Number 60, one of the tackles, lineman Ryan Barker, my brother. So
makes a lot of sense.
If he goes to whatever college he goes to, that's what college I'll start watching college football, and then I'll only watch that.
Go to
hey,
UT.
you know he's gotten a few offers. So he's 17 years old, 6'5", 295 pounds.
Dude's a freaking beast.
He is a full unit.
Huge, man.
He is a full unit. Like,
what does he play? What position?
One of the tackles, I think.
Offense,
I could be
right?
wrong.
He has to be on the line.
He's on the line. He is.
Oh, Tennessee could use an O lineman. That'd be great.
Yo, honestly, but I think he's gotten one, maybe two offers. I know he's gotten one from a local college, Swanee, which one of our go-karting buddies, Jack Satterfield, is actually a kicker at Swanee. But,
interesting.
There's a lot of the local Nashville go-karting is also kind of heavily involved in D3, D2 college football. Colin Figincher, Daytona. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
He's actually a special teams coach at some school in Florida. I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head. Shout out to Colin Figincher, or Daytona as I know him. I'm trying to think. He lives in Daytona Beach. That's why his name's Daytona. But that's
makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, we had a bunch of great racing this weekend. Something I'm very happy about. Kept me occupied throughout Labor Day. But yeah, dude, let's dive right into it.
Let's talk about it.
All right,
let's go right into it.
Let's dive right in with IndyCar. Let me pull it up right here. All right, so when it comes to IndyCar, as well as the the Bit-Nile Grand Prix of Portland, almost positive I got that right, for the IndyCar, we had the Indy Next Series. We had 3 races for the USF 2000 Series. 3 races for the USF Pro 2000 Series, and 2 races for the US Touring Car Championship. So let's break these down. The USF 2000, their first race, 3rd place, Simon Sykes. 2nd place, Evorgros Papasaves. I'm great with ages and names. Ages and names are my specialty.
You need to take a language class, because that was awful, and I'm so sorry.
I took Spanish. I took Spanish once in middle school, and Spanish. Yes, I took Spanish twice in high school. Okay.
Okay.
My 2nd year of Spanish, I learned how to play poker. Do you know what I didn't learn?
Spanish.
Spanish. I did not learn Spanish, but somehow passed the class. No, actually, I lucked out of the class because I thought I was going to fail the class, and then COVID hit.
Oh,
And so they basically said whatever your grade was, which mine was like a 71 or something, like right on the line. And then we had a test coming up, and all the tests in Spanish are spoken tests, so they take place over like 3 days.
Ooh, that's tough.
And I got like first day I didn't get it. First, like I forgot to study the night before, so I'm like, please, like if I don't do it today, I'll study tonight, be ready tomorrow. Didn't study that night. And I did the exact same thing the next day. I was like, all right. Then they said, hey, we're going to have a long weekend to disinfect the school for COVID. And then next thing you know, that was my sophomore year. And then my senior year.
History.
Yeah, the rest. Yeah, now I'm a high performance student at a college.
High performance student.
That doesn't know. That knows barely. Was that French?
That was English, but I just had an accent.
Bro, we are getting so off. All right, so USF 2000 race ones, third place Simon Sykes, second place Evagoras Papasavis, first place Jacob Douglas. All right, I think I got the last one right.
That was easy. That was easy one, Jacob Douglas. There we go.
Yeah, the rest are pretty easy too. Race 2, third place Nikita Johnson, second place Simon Sykes, first place Jacob Douglas, and in the third race. Third place, Sam Corey came home third, and Jacob Douglas and Simon Sykes swapped places after the second race, going into the third race. Second place, Jacob Douglas. First place, Simon Sykes.
Nice.
Now, with the USF Pro 2000 Series, race 1, Bejoy Garg came home third place. Miles Rowe came home in second place, and in first place, Kiko Porto. Race 2, Miles Rowe came home third. Nikita Johnson came home second. And Michael Dorlando came home with the win. In race 3, third place, Jonathan Brown came home third. Salvador de Alba came home second, and Nikita Johnson came home with the win. With Miles Rowe's second and third place finishes in the USF Pro races at Portland, Miles Rowe clinches the 2023 championship and becomes the first African American to win an open wheel championship in the United States. And he gets a guaranteed Indy Next ride for next season.
There you go.
So, congratulations to him.
Congratulations.
The U.S. Touring Car Championship, they had 2 races. First race, third place, Leper Sheehan. Second place, Bo Borders. And in first place, Bob Accardo. Second place, kind of similar results. Third place, Bo Borders. Second place, Bob Accardo. And first place, Carl Rydquist came home with the win. Indy Next, third place, Daniel Frost. Second place, Nolan Segal. And first place, Lewis Foster. So, let's get into IndyCar. And before the race even started, something that we kind of saw coming happened, and it leaves kind of a few things up in the air still as well. Linus Lundqvist has signed with Chip Ganassi Racing for the 2024 season, which I'm not really surprised by, but brings the question, all right, where's Simon Pagenaud going, I think the further we get along with this and the longer and longer we wait to hear an answer, the more and more likely it's going to be that it's going to hang it up.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's going to be the same kind of thing with that would happen with Kurt Busch.
100%.
It just retired recently. Like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or like last week, actually, I think. So it's going to be, I think, one of those situations with the way that it's panning out. Hopefully he can return to the car.
Yeah.
But it definitely looks like he's heading down the road of retirement, which had a good career. Nothing wrong with it. But that's definitely looks like where it's heading. What else happened?
Let's see here. What else happened? And kind of piggybacking off of what you said real quick, I feel like from his standpoint, it feels like he's kind of got 2 options here. He can retire whenever he wants, or it could be something where, and honestly, I hate to use this as an example, but it's the best one I can think of, Dale Earnhardt Sr. Dale Earnhardt Sr., and Dale Earnhardt Sr., he probably had a few more years in him. I'm not going to lie. He had his son, he was also racing his son. He was mentoring Michael Waltrip. So there was that, but I feel like Simon Pagenaud's also kind of have that in his mind, do I want to keep going? Like, say he wants to retire in 26, all right?
Yeah.
He's probably thinking right now, do I want to keep going to 26 and risk the possibility of something happening? Because I'm not sure if he has a family or anything, but I'm pretty sure if he does, he's got that to think about as well, if he does. I can see you looking it up right now.
He is, yeah. I'm looking it up right now to see. But I agree. It's something that it's very interesting.
We saw it with
to see what happened. Yeah,
we saw it with Kevin Harvick. He's retiring. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure Kevin Harvick's got a few more years in him, but he wants to be more involved with his son and daughter's racing, with Piper and Keelan, with them racing. So it's very much he's. When you're looking at retirement, you have a lot of things to look about, especially in sports. Football is a great example. Those guys take vicious hits to the head. All right, and it's like, do I want to keep going and not be there for my kids because I'm brain dead in a hospital bed for the rest of my life, or do I want to stop and be with their kids? Someone like Kevin Harvick, they've been doing this their whole life, and a lot of these guys have been doing it their whole life. And it's kind of at the point where all right. I feel like Simon Pagenaud, he's looking at the big picture right now. I wouldn't be, as much as I would hate to see it, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him in 2024 for retirement. But also coming into this week, kind of staying with in the same car. Hello. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Formula V driver Jack Herberger getting out of his welding class today. Yes, I'm going to do it every time you come in here.
The man, the myth, the legend.
The man, the myth, the legend. But Tom Bloomquist receives a 6th-place grid penalty for an unapproved engine swap before the race had even started.
Seems like a pretty obvious thing to do, to swap an engine.
Unapproved. They were probably just it was probably one of those things. It was just hey, we have they probably went to the IndyCar officials. I don't know if there's a separate sanctioning body like there is with Formula One, but because I know Indy Next is through USAC, United States Auto Club, and I don't know if IndyCar is its own entity, but we have, but I'm pretty sure they just went up and they're just hey, we need to change our motor, and they were just you can do that. You just have to go back 6 places. So
oh well.
Yeah, going into this race, I wasn't 100% sure how he would have clinched it up, but it was brought to my attention through the broadcast. Alex Palou needed to finish 3rd or better to clinch his championship, and I think he was in the lead by the end of lap 1. Or he was in 3rd place he was in position to take on the championship at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, it was his to lose. We talked about this. He was in a spot to where it's he would have something
it's what we predicted.
Very bad going on. Yeah, something would have to be catastrophic for him to not clinch the playoffs or clinch the championship.
Yeah.
That's obviously what happened. Obviously going down the road a little bit, but Graham Rahal and McLaughlin led the field. Which is great to see Rahal having success. So let's talk about that.
First pole in 7 years for him. And if he would have won, it would have been his first win in 7 years as well. So he's in quite a drought. I do feel bad for him, because it's very much a difficult stance. All right. In any sport at all, you're constantly fighting to keep your position. And that can be brought into any business as well, like my dad. My dad's been in sales since he graduated college. He did sales for Oracle, all right? He was one of the higher ups in his department. He was constantly fighting to keep it didn't matter how long he was there for. He was constantly fighting to keep that, and that's, and of course it's very apparent in racing, but he also kind of has that thing where he's a part owner of the team he races for. So he kind of has that as well, but at the same time, it's you want success as a team. You want success as a team, and if you yourself, if I'm a team owner, if I'm an owner driver, and I'm not doing well at all for 4 or 5 years, or 3 or 4 years, all right? If there's a young up-and-coming talent, I'll let him race to make his talent more, to make it so he'll be able to race and get our name out on the map more. But yes, it was very good to see Graham Rahal back starting up front. Race didn't really go the way he wanted to. We saw some very frustrated. We heard some very frustrated radio messages during qualifying. Roman Grosjean. I don't know if you saw the IndyCar post there, but he was. I think he's getting the more American motorsports type spirit now, where he's just getting pissed off,
Yeah.
And who knows? He might have always. Yeah.
I
He
was
might
gonna
have
say,
always been.
you know,
Yeah, good.
take 3. No,
Take 3 on that one.
It's a good thing because it's good to see that he has that fight. It's good to see that he has the know how on just how to express that, because there's a lot of drivers who just can't either express their emotions in a way, whether good or bad. But the fact that Roman Grosjean is getting so deep into what he's doing now, it's just good to see. It's good to see. It's good to see.
It is. It's good to see. Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely.
It's like what you said. It's good to see that fire still there with him. No pun intended. His nickname's the Phoenix.
I'm not listening to a word you say. You just, I can't believe you just made a fire joke with Roman Grosjean. When the other day, you were just saying how emotionally draining it was for you to see the Ryan Preece wreck because it reminded you of Roman Grosjean. So you know what? That was a good one.
Okay, yeah, all right, after what we saw, all right, he's still, and Ryan Preece, he's still out there for blood, all right, with the pop blood vessels in his eyes, okay? They're okay, all right? It's not like I'm doing something very bad, but it's unfiltered. We are the only podcast that offers unfiltered, unbiased, unless it's about William Byron, opinions that covers the 3 major forms of motorsports.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Rusty Wallace shirt. Give me a break.
Okay,
give me a break.
Yeah. But as I was saying, it felt, it is good to see kind of that he's still got that urge to win, and a lot of people would consider IndyCar a step down from Formula One, and it kind of is, but in the same sense, it's its own respected.
I just wanted to say Roman Grosjean and Marcus Ericsson have both said that the Indy cars, they're not as fast, but they're a lot harder to drive and a lot more physical to drive. So
that makes sense.
Yeah,
a lot harder to drive and a lot more physical.
Because here's the thing: what I like to call IndyCar is when you take NASCAR, is when you take the engineering of Formula One and the rules of NASCAR and you put them together. All right.
Sense. Yeah.
You have you have NASCAR, which is a spec series, which everyone has the exact same car, and the only thing they can really change is setup. All right, and obviously what happens behind closed doors, you never really know. All right, there's teams. If you ain't cheating, you ain't winning. All right, that's true in any type of sport. But then you have Formula One, which is an open series, which is you have so much room to play with there. There's so much, no 2 cars are literally the same. Like, they're all completely different. And then you have, now we have IndyCar, which you have those same, the technology of Formula One, which I love and I admire. That's one of the only things I like about Formula One. But the technology behind it. And then you have, I'm getting opinionated today. Then you have the rules of NASCAR where it's very much, I'm going to hear what you have to say, but it's one of those things. So in a way, it makes it a bit of a more level playing field. So I feel like on paper, yes, it is a step down from Formula One. But IndyCar within itself is its own challenge. It's its own hurdle for these guys to go over, okay? Like, these guys, like Roman Grosjean, he was constantly fighting his car. All right? He wasn't fighting anyone else. All right? He was always fighting his car and his teammate. Then again, he was at Haas. I'm pretty sure he was at Renault for a short bit. But with the time he was at Haas, he was constantly fighting his car. He's not having to do that, all right? He's with Andretti Autosport, a proven championship team, all right? If 100%. Look, and he's got to have a bit of weight on his shoulders. If you have the name Andretti on your car or on your suit, that's a lot of pressure within itself.
Oh, 100%.
Right? The name Andretti holds so much prestige. And so, like you said, it is good to see that fire still there with him. And I want to see him win a race so badly.
Me too. He's come so close, so many times to winning a race, and everybody's like, when is it going to happen? Because I don't think it's a matter of if. I think it's a matter of when. He's in the right equipment. He can still drive. Like, there's nothing that he can't do. The fact that he's getting more, I think, emotionally involved is going to play as long as he leverages it the right way, can help him out in a positive manner. Obviously, he only has one more race to do that this season, but again, I think he can win a race. I think it's going to come. I don't think it's going to come this year. Right. I don't think he's going to win a race this year. Obviously, I don't think he can win Laguna Seca. I think it's going to come next year. I think he's going to win.
Please,
probably at a street course. I think it's going to have to be a street course just because of his technicality and how he drives within how many Formula One street courses there are. So I think he's gonna win on a street course next year. Could he win at Nashville? He's been strong. He's been very strong at Nashville. That'd be cool to watch
next year.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what that happens within Grosjean. But go through the rest of the race. Go through the rest of the rundown. What else happened that race?
What else we got here?
Yep.
Speaking of Roman Grosjean made contact with Callum Ilott that had him in the pits, put him 10 laps down. I think he went back out for a little bit, and then I think he just pulled it back in. It was very extensive damage. I mean, when you're on pit road, there's only so much you can fix. There's only so much you can fix caster camber wise. You can adjust the toe a lot more now. But when you're going back into the pits and you have one tire like this and the other tire like this, it's very much, it's a long shot to get that car back out there.
Yep.
First caution comes out on lap 4. Will Power trying to defend against Alexander Rossi, spun it in turn 4, just stalled the car. Those cars need an external starter, which that happens. Back to green, lap 7 with Rahal in the lead, Palou in third, Dixon in fifth. I was watching both, which I'll tell you right now, someone who the least stressed person probably at Chip Ganassi Racing was probably Chip Ganassi, because he knows no matter what happened. He knew coming into Portland, no matter what happens at Portland, or no matter what happened at Portland, and if it got to the point where it went to Laguna Seca, no matter what happened there, he's a 15-time IndyCar champion.
Yeah, he's going to win.
All right, so I'm pretty sure he's got to be happy with that. So he was, obviously, I bet, he wanted a fair battle. But, and it looked pretty fair. It's got to be interesting because I can't wait for the day. We have another visitor. Who do we? Oh my gosh! UNOH soccer player Liam. What's your last name? Winder. Say hi to the podcast.
Hi, podcast.
Hi. All right, but
This quality fucking camera's nice.
His camera quality is shit.
Yes, it is not good. But yeah, back green with Liam, with Rahal, Palou leads, Dixon third. Colton Herta had a pit road speeding penalty on lap 20. Same with Tom Blomqvist on lap 24. Dixon leads with Palou in third just after halfway. Weather was possibly becoming a factor, which was interesting.
Right.
Weather was definitely becoming a factor. Kevin Armstrong loses a tire while exiting his pit box with 30 to go, effectively ruining his Rookie of the Year chances. He had a pretty hefty lead there, but that was definitely something that... It's something so simple, yet you feel like it's very much... You look at it and you're just like, how do you forget to tighten the tail? But with it's a very high pressure environment, anything can really happen. What is it? Oh yeah. So back we went with 26 to go. Caution comes out after Agustin Caponino misses turn 10 and gets stuck in the grass. And with 22 to go, Alex Palou leads back us. And at the end of the race, Scott Dixon comes home third. Felix Rosenqvist comes home second, which he was very happy about. That's a very good finish for Arrow McLaren. And with his first place finish, Palou gets his second IndyCar title in 3 years. So here's some interesting stats with that, actually. That was kind of weird. But for the first time in 18 years, the championship was decided before the final race. The third most successful driver in 62 starts in IndyCar history. Can you tell me who the other two drivers are? I've already mentioned one of them already.
Give it to me. I don't know.
Okay, so the third most successful driver with 62 starts in IndyCar history is Alex Palou. Second most successful driver with 62 starts in IndyCar, AJ Foyt. And in first place, Mario Andretti.
Wow. That's pretty impressive company.
That is.
Foyt, and Andretti.
Yeah.
That's two juggernauts in IndyCar.
Oh.
I mean, those are the two greatest, arguably.
Those are two guaranteed faces on the Mount Rushmore of IndyCar. I mean, it's
100%.
insane.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
so can Alex Palou be one of those faces? Let's have that conversation. Can he join them?
It is interesting.
He's got two.
He does have two, and it is. It's so hard to say that kind of stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
And I have people ask me, who's the greatest race car driver of all time? People who are, who aren't really familiar with racing. And I kind of have two answers. The first, if I had to choose a driver, it'd be Mario Andretti. Daytona 500 win, Formula One world champion, IndyCar champion. That's a pretty impressive resume.
Which we probably won't see again.
No, we won't. I mean, with how diverse everything is, back when Mario Andretti was racing both IndyCar and Formula One, those were still very similar within the two. When you
exactly, sure.
when you so yeah, but looking nowadays and how different they are from each other, yes, it is very difficult. But you get but the other answer to that question is kind of you can't answer that. All right, let's look at Formula One and NASCAR. All right, take Max Verstappen, who's been dominant this year in Formula One. All right, put him in Kyle Larson's car, have him go run a race at Daytona, have him go run a race at Charlotte. But yes, Kimi Räikkönen. Thank you, Kimi Räikkönen. He was really good in Formula One, and then he gets into the Project 91 car with Trackhouse Racing. It's kind of hard to see. Now you do see some exceptions. Example: Shane Van Gisbergen.
Juan Pablo Montoya.
The first race in NASCAR in the Cup Series.
Yeah.
Takes the not the championship. Takes the win at Chicago Street Course. So then you have and even take Bill Elliott and put him in Chase Elliott's car. Will he perform the exact same? Take Chase Elliott, put him in Bill Elliott's cars. Will he perform the same? Yeah. So it is a very difficult question, and it's very hard to see because a lot of people are calling Jimmy Johnson the greatest modern day NASCAR driver. And then and and it kind of is because it's hard to compare him. Yes, you look at the championships of NASCAR. There's only 3 names that can only come to mind when you think of 7 championships. Earnhardt, Petty, Johnson. All right, those are the only 3. All right, and I'm not too sure what the numbers are for IndyCar, but with Formula One, it's the exact same thing. When you think of the most championships won in NASCAR, in Formula One, there's only 2 names: Schumacher and Hamilton. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yep.
And and people ask the question. People say Lewis Hamilton is the greatest Formula One driver ever. Statistically, yes. In the numbers, he is most wins, most poles, most podiums. Yes. All right. Tied for the most championships. Yes. But you put him in something like, you put him in Alan Prost's car, you put him in an Ayrton Senna's car, or the Jordan that Michael Schumacher first started racing in. Are these guys going to perform the same? And that's one of the things where you're never going to know, because you can't. If you own like one of those old type of Formula One cars, you're not going to put it out on a track and risk it being destroyed. All right?
No,
unless you're
stupid
rich. All right, but I mean it's
or stupid.
Or just stupid, yeah. But you look at, so I feel like when it comes to, is Alex Palou contention to become one of the greats? Time will tell.
He's got 2 when he's young. He's got
exactly. If these guys,
it's possible.
I feel like there's one of 2 things you have to do. You have to do what either Jimmy Johnson and Lewis Hamilton did, and get a bunch in a row. I'm pretty sure Lewis Hamilton was 4 or 5 in a row, and Jimmy Johnson was 4 or 5 in a row. And, that helped a lot, because it's harder to do that if you're winning a championship every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So, he has 2 within 3 years, which isn't bad. He is young, and he's already a proven figure within the sport. So, it's one of those things where time has to tell. You know,
sure.
I only last year really started really heavily paying attention to Formula One. I'm not going to lie. Or not Formula One, IndyCar. And it just wasn't something I was used to watching. I grew up watching NASCAR, and then
Same.
I started playing the Formula One games. And I was like, yeah, I'll check out Formula One. So I watching Formula One. And then, just IndyCar was just kind of there. So up until last year, I never really paid attention to IndyCar, I'll say it. But I've grown a lot of respect for the sport. I started kind of paying attention to it when Grosjean got there, but yeah. But let's look into the future. Laguna Seca. Don't really have to talk about the championship anymore, unless we want to talk about. I mean, even second place is kind of locked up.
Best of the rest. Best of the rest. I mean, it's still going to be Dixon. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say how long we could be silent.
Oh no, we're not doing that.
Who's your pick to win? Who's your pick to win Laguna Seca?
I've got
on three. Well, on three, we're going to say the driver like we did last week. So.
Oh, okay. On who we think? I've got like two names in my head. Who I want to win or who I think is going to win?
Who you think's going to win?
Okay. We all know who we want to win the race.
Well, yeah, we both want Newgarden, but who do you think is going to win the race? Okay.
I've got like two names in my head and
pick one.
All right, I've got one and I'll after we do the countdown I'll explain my reasoning why.
3, 2, 1, Palou.
Dixon. Oh.
Oh.
So the reason I say Scott Dixon is because this. I feel like I speak for a lot of race car drivers, and there's some that might think differently, who might have a different thought process on it, but I know that a lot of the race car drivers that I've talked to and I've been with and I've been around, they would much rather finish third than second. Because second stings so much more than third. So here's what I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking Scott Dixon is feeling that sting. I mean, he's second place in the championship. All right, he's feeling that sting. He's going to want to go out on top. All right.
Sure.
So,
sure.
I would love to see him win. I feel like I don't know if he's either thinking one of two things. I'm going to go out on top, or going to finish the year off. Look forward to next year. All right.
Gotcha.
But then Palou, he's a good bet too, because he's just like, all right, yeah, we won the championship. We're still here to fight.
Yeah, let's go win another one. Why not? Let's be the one at the top of the podium.
Yeah.
And the last race.
We see it in Formula One all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so hoping for Newgarden as per usual. But if I had to choose between Dixon and Palou, I want to see Dixon, just kind of be like, hey, I can still fight.
Remember me. I'm still here.
Yes.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Be ready for next year. Plus, it'd be good momentum for him
going into next year.
24. Exactly. 100%.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And next week, hopefully, we'll be talking about the 2024 schedule. Hopefully, we'll be able to see something with that, but maybe some predictions.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's next topic. F1.
Formula
Formula One.
Was at Monza.
Favorite track. One of my favorite tracks of all time.
My favorite track as well. Because it's a fast track. I love speed. All right, I love speed, and it's the fastest track on the calendar.
It's awesome.
All right?
It's awesome. Turn one is like no other. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah,
and
it's like you're side by side with someone, and you're like, all right, it's whoever breaks last is going to be the guy with the bigger balls. All right, it's
yeah,
that's what it is going into turn one. But yeah, we had the Porsche Mobile One Super Cup finished off their season there. We had Formula 3 finish off their season there, and we had Formula 2 there per not preliminary. What's like
preliminary?
Preliminary.
Preliminary.
Is that like second to last? Is that what that means?
That's like before the main. Before yes.
Okay. What is penultimate race? They had their penultimate race.
Oh.
Is that what that means?
Last, but one in a series of things. Second to last.
Second to last.
Yes.
So penultimate. Okay. So Formula 2 had their penultimate race at Monza, as well as Formula 1 having their. They still got 8 races left to go. Porsche Mobile 1 Super Cup, third place, Simon Laquita. Second place, Larry Tin Vord. And first place, Harry King. In third place in the sprint race, Mari Boya for Formula 3. Second place, Gabriel Bortello, my bad, another butcher. And in first place, Francio Calpatuni. Colapatini. You say it.
Franco Colapinto.
Yeah, I thought about that way too much. That was way too much.
Franco Colapinto. Colapinto.
Close enough. In the feature race for Formula 3, third place, Taylor Bernard. Second place, Zach O'Sullivan. And in first place, Johnny Edgar. And with that, your champion, your 2023 Formula 3 champion, Gabriel Bortello. So congratulations to him.
Bortoletto.
Bortoletto. Is that what I said? Is that what it is?
You said Bortello. It's Bortoletto. Bortoletto. I believe. I mean, that's how it.
I just ignore names. I just ignore letters.
Complete consonants and vowels.
It could be like some like Jack Smith, and it'd be like Jahak Smythe. It could be some crap like that. But congratulations to Gabriel on his 2023 championship. 2022 second to last round for the Formula 2. 2023 second to last round for the Formula 2 season. Sprint race at Monza. Richard Viscour came home third. Second place, Victor Martins came home second. And in first place, Frederick Vesti. I just replaced the F and the R with a V.
You said Victor and it's Frederick.
I know. I don't even know where I got that. I saw the Vesti and I kind of swapped out.
I can't wait for the next one you got.
Oh no, not this. Oh my God. We did this on our test episode and my brother laughed at me so hard for butchering this. All right. I'm going to say it in my head a few times. All right.
Okay. So this is the feature of Formula 2. Okay. In third place,
Theo Pourchaire.
There we go. Nice.
All right. Second place, Ayum Iwasa.
Close enough. I think that's good.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Iwasa, I apologize. And in first place, Oliver Bearman, same thing. So yeah, they got one more race coming up at Yas Marina later this year. I believe it's late November, early December.
You're awesome.
Now on to Formula 1. So, few stuff before the race we saw. One of the questions was, we were talking about the last few podcasts, was where was Lewis Hamilton going?
Where's he going
to
go?
We knew that what's his name? We knew that George Russell had a multi-year contract. It wasn't specific, but we knew he had a multi-year contract. And but now we know that it is Mercedes keeps both Hamilton and Russell. They're going to be keeping them both till 2025.
I love it. I love that move. I think it helps Lewis kind of settle down a little bit and say, okay, this is where I'm going to be. This is what I want to do. This is
I feel
I feel
like he's happy there. He's respected
he could
there.
potentially finish his career at Mercedes.
Toto Wolff said he would like to do that. He would like to have Lewis finish his career there. The second seat at both Williams and Alfa Romeo are still empty. So Williams Sargent's seat is empty for next year, as well as Zhou Guanyu. Their seats are both empty. I really want Logan Sargent. It's his rookie year. He's got the rookie nerves. Just give us another year. All right, give us another year with an American driver, please.
The issue is Albon is looking so good in the Williams.
He is.
That's the issue. If Albon wasn't looking as good as
you're constantly being compared to your teammate.
And that's the bad thing about Formula One. When it comes to your performance against your teammate, Albon's finishing in the points. I mean, he's running up in the top 5, and qualifying in the top 10. Yeah. So, and Sargent's not. I mean, Sargent barely missed out, but still, he's still not performing when it comes to race time. Albon's battling up there with the Mercedes, with the Aston Martins, with the McLarens, and
but
Sargent's not.
In defense of Sargent, what I would say is he hasn't had a very consistent career in Formula One, but he's had Formula One experience. All right, he's had front of the field experience. He raced half a season at Red Bull, in 19, I think. 18 or 19, I think.
Yeah.
Alex Albon. Yeah, I was so pissed when they kicked Pierre Gasly. Had such a good chance. But
100%. Gosh.
oh yeah, and we talked about Pierre Gasly, who got his first podium last week with Alpine. With William Sargent though, I want to say it's kind of like comparing apples to oranges, but it's like we're comparing an apple that just dropped from the tree to an apple that's been sitting in your fridge for a month. All right? That's what we're comparing it as. All right? Because
Interesting comparison.
I'd make interesting comparisons all the time, but what's his name? Alex Albon has Formula One experience. He knows how to go about certain situations that Logan Sargent might not be able, that might not know. All right? And
Sure.
That
makes sense.
We don't know what, I say this all the time, we don't know what happens behind closed doors, all right? Like, let's be honest here. Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez are not in the same car. That is, it's an unpopular opinion. When Christian Horner was asked, what does Perez need to do to be able to have the same momentum and pace as Max Verstappen, Christian Horner said needs to improve his lap times. And everyone else on the couch was just like, no, it needs to be in an equal car.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a weird situation. Like I said, there's a lot more, I don't want to use the word politics, but there's a lot more.
A little bit. I see what you mean.
When I say politics, I think of actual political stuff, like government and stuff like that. That's me. When politics has a very broad meaning. I understand that. Politics of Formula One are very different than what we are used to. All right, because RCR is a prime example. All right, both drivers who have been in the sport for quite a while. All right, everyone thinks that RCR just isn't really doing that well. All right, second points paying race of the year. Kyle Busch wins. All right, now people are looking. Okay, maybe it's not the car.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is the car and the driver, and they just kind of got a good driver. All right.
But this is like the same thing. You never know what happens behind the scenes.
Closed doors.
You never know. You never.
We had that discussion in one of my classes. Yeah, you don't. So I would love to see Logan Sargent.
Me too.
But if he gets replaced, I wouldn't be surprised. Something I actually am kind of surprised to see, but not as surprised to see. Both AlphaTauri seats are open.
But they're switching. They're going to a complete rebrand.
They're going to be a completely different team. So it might not even. They might already have that signed up for next year. But I feel like Tsunoda's a good. He's very much settled down from when he first got into Formula One.
Yep.
And so I feel like he is a pretty good shoe-in at making it into next year. The second seat is still open. I don't see Nick DeVries getting back in that seat. Kind of the same situation we saw with Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly, once he got booted back down to AlphaTauri, he knew he wasn't going to be able to get back up in there. It's kind of like you had your chance. We're just keeping you here to get research for the other two cars. All right,
sure.
And he understood that, and he still wants to make a name for himself within the sport. So he goes to Alpine, Mercedes.
Bingo.
Mercedes,
and doing well. And
he is.
So.
He is performing well. I think it's too early to say anything about Liam Lawson if he has a chance. I really want to see how.
Yeah, it's tough.
It is tough because it's only his. This past race was only his second ever race in Formula One. Who you have Daniel Ricciardo, who is a more. I would say that Daniel Ricciardo has a better chance at getting the seat because he's not a risk. He's not a liability. He's not.
But is he? Because he just got injured.
He did, yes, but
that's the question. And just what, his third race back, second race back,
and so that's.
That I got to play devil's advocate there. You say he's not a risk, yet he just got back into the sport after Nick DeVries and his parting with the team, and he gets injured. Obviously, there have been worse wrecks where drivers haven't got injured, so it was just a matter of circumstance. But
it's one of those things where you see it all the time where if you have a collision, and you see it in all forms of racing, if you have a collision that's going to involve your front two tires, hand off the steering wheel, and it's at Zandvoort, it's a quick, it's not like a chicane where it's a quick right-left, but you don't have much time because as soon as you exit that corner, you automatically got to get set up for that banked left-hander. And Piastri was just right in the banking, and he said it himself. He had two options: hit Piastri, hit the wall. And it was a split-second decision, and he didn't have enough time to maybe take his hands off the wheel. I'm not 100% sure. That's something they teach you in go-karts, or when I first started racing, that's something they teach you very early on. And it probably he was more or less thinking about not hitting and possibly injuring someone else rather than taking his hands off the wheel. But I would say, because here's the thing, it's not like he's destroying cars every week. So if they're starting a new team, they want a bit of financial stability, all right? They don't want to be repairing a car every week.
But yeah, that's a good point. But I think it's just one of those things where we're gonna have to see what the future holds, because with obviously the anticipation is that Ricciardo's going to come back. Not really sure the timetable. It's September 5th right now. No news have come out yet about his return just yet on a solid date. So he's definitely going to get back. Now, is he going to keep it? We don't know. But I think they're going to want some stability, and for stability's sake, Ricciardo would be the best option on that side. So let's dive into the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Oh, well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was just going to say, who knows? Liam Lawson might drive some really clean races these next few races and be good. Yeah. But like you said, let's dive right into the race. And speaking of AlphaTauri, one of them didn't even make it to the start-finish line before the race even started, Unfortunately for Yuki Tsunoda, on the formation lap right before the final turn, he
blew up.
Engine trouble. He blew up, engine trouble, which, we saw the same thing happen with BJ McLeod in NASCAR this weekend at Darlington. We'll get into that later, but yeah. But we went lights out. Lights out with Sainz on pole, Verstappen in second for 51 laps. Turn 4, lap 15, Verstappen takes the lead. Same story we've seen all year.
Yep, it was.
Yeah.
But what a battle, though. What a battle for second, third, and fourth between Perez, Sainz, and Leclerc. And if you haven't already gone back and watched the battle between the two Ferrari teammates, it was... I had a bet on Sainz to finish in the podium, and Leclerc was just going all out. Like, Leclerc had a great car, so did Sainz. Sainz was trying to keep Verstappen behind him for 15-plus laps, obviously. It's a Red Bull, it's Verstappen. He's going to get around you. It's just a matter of time. Try to keep Perez around him, used up his tires a little bit. Doing that, so trying to keep his teammate around him. They almost got into each other a couple times, where going into one, like you said before, it's all about braking. Whoever can outbrake the other driver. We almost saw Leclerc get into the back of Sainz, which that was going to be a repeat of what we've seen with two Red Bulls before. Seen in other teams do the same thing.
Ricardo Verstappen at Baku a few years back.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it was one of those things, but what a race, and that just showed, and it kind of goes to what I was thinking before, where I think the second best team, the best of the rest, which my prediction kind of came true, was going to be Ferrari. They needed a good race. They got one out of both drivers, and Perez finished in second, but with Sainz getting on the podium, it just produces a little bit of momentum. At their home race, they didn't race at Imola this past year because of obviously the floods, but this is what Ferrari needed. This is what Leclerc needed for confidence. This is what Sainz needed for confidence. And, Max Verstappen went on to win his 10th straight, making it breaking records. It was a new Formula One record. I believe it was Sebastian Vettel. He passed in the all-time consecutive wins with 10, and he had 9. So right now we have, like you said before, 4 drivers competing for that world championship. Verstappen, Perez, Alonso, and Hamilton. It's going to be tough because there are clinching options and potential scenarios. I think in the next 2 races, if I'm not mistaken, Verstappen can clinch the championship. I believe. I don't know what they are.
Yeah,
but I know it's there.
It would be interesting to see. We have an off week next week, and then we go to Singapore, which is always an exciting race. It's a very long technical track. And any street course to a certain extent is very technical. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be a battle for third in the drivers' championship between Alonso and Hamilton, which those guys don't really like each other. We saw that last year. We saw that when they were teammates together at McLaren back in 2008 and so on. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see the way that it eventually plays out. If I had my guesses for third right now, Alonso. I think Alonso is good. I think he's gonna try and keep up with that momentum that he's been getting with Aston Martin. Mm-hmm. All right, and yeah, and it might be a similar situation to what we see with Kyle Busch at RCR with NASCAR. New driver, new face, new mind, new outlook can really help.
Sure,
all right,
it can,
and it's definitely something like that. So we got an off week next week. Something interesting that came out today. I didn't even know this was still a discussion, but apparently it was. The FIA released a statement today saying that no teams breached the 2022 cost cap.
Interesting.
I understood that there was a little bit of conversation with that last year about the year prior, 2021. I mean, we are over halfway through 2023, and we are still talking about 2021. I mean, it's
yeah.
It's going to be one of those things
that are talked about. It's going to be one of the things that are talked about.
It's going to be a Nicky Lauda, James Hunt year. It's going to be like it was one of those. It's going to be talked about for a long time. Yeah, we got an off week next week at Singapore. So yeah, I'm excited for Singapore. Singapore is one of those races where I don't like saying it, but it's kind of one of those forgotten races. But, it's not one it's the one on the year where it's like, oh, I wonder what race is next. I'm like, oh, Singapore. I forgot about that. It's kind of one of those races.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting. In my opinion, produced some great racing last year.
Sure.
So, yeah. But, why don't we go with our local racing report, Paragon Speedway and Paragon, Indiana. And, okay, since I'm so horrible with names, John,
you want me to take the reins? Great. Well,
take this one because apparently I'm so bad with names. So we had the Jessup Logistics 410 Sprints. We had the Nelson Contracting Bombers, the William Tree Company Hornets, and the Extreme Outlaw Midget Series racing both Friday and Saturday night for the at Paragon Speedway 410s, and the midgets raced both Friday and Saturday night. So, yeah, let's take it off.
Yeah.
I got to do the 3-2-1 thing that you do.
Oh, there we go. Absolutely. Yeah. So in the 410 sprints on Friday, in third place was Kyle Shipley in the 06. In second place was Ricky Lewis in the 41. And in first, the 17 GP of Jaden Rogers. That was your Friday results. For Saturday in third, and the 33 was Jake Scott. And second in the 04 was Jordan Kinser. And in first, winning back-to-back days, is Jaden Rogers in the 17 GP. So next is the Nelson Contracting Bombers. In third place in the number 15 was Mike Swango. In second, the 72T of Jason Trimmer. And in first, another Jason in the 77, Jason Trader. In the Williams Tree Company Hornets, I could do this all day long, is the third place driver of Jeremy Wilson in the 144. The second place finisher is Casey Elliott in the 54, and Alex Wilson took home the win for the Wilson Tree Company Hornets. Now, for the Extreme Outlaw Midgets, like you said, they ran on Friday and Saturday. You have Hayden Reinbold in the 13 AZ finishing in third on Friday, with Gavin Miller finishing in the 97 car finishing in second, and Zach Dwam. That's one. That is one out of. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. Sorry, Zach. In the 7U, he won the Friday night event. And on Saturday in the 7U, Zach Dom. I'm going to call him Dom.
Yeah, Dom.
Finished third. And second, Ryan Timms. And in first, Jade Avdesane finished in first. Avdesane? That's how would you pronounce it? Avdesane?
Avdisan. I would have said it how I would spell. That's how I do it. But
Avdisan.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the Key and Peele skit. You know Key and Peele, right?
Oh yeah, I'm not that young.
Aaron.
D nice.
But yeah, D nice.
I love that.
There's our local racing report, Paragon Speedway in Paragon, Indiana.
If you would like your local short track to be featured on the Flag to Flag podcast, email flagtoflag10@gmail.com or hit us up on any of our social media platforms. Listen out for those at the end of the episode. So yeah, going into NASCAR, we had NASCAR racing at Darlington, being the NASCAR Youth Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series, and then at DeQuinn State Fairgrounds for the ARCA Series, for their series. So yeah, let's dive right into these real quick with the, I'm going to do ARCA first. ARCA at the DeQuinn State Fairgrounds, third place, Will Kimmel. Second place, Brent Cruz. And first place, extending his championship lead, Jesse Love.
He wins almost every week. Like
he does. And I remember when he raced Legend Cars, he's one of those guys where he's a good talent behind the wheel. But going into the NASCAR Youth Series, Case James picked up 4 wins on the weekend. Zeke Berganti picked up 3 wins. Jack Whitmer picked up a win, as well as Braden Eichler, Tyler Lupton, Tyler Carnevale, Joshua Penn, Braylon Sumner, and Rue Reeves, who was the Grand Marshal for the race on Sunday.
There you go. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
and
cool. Way to go.
Yeah, and if you don't know, Rue Reeves' father owns Cookout Southern 500.
Really? Well, there you go. I did not know that.
Yeah, they raced in the Southeast region with me in quarter midget, so I had the opportunity to race a few times against Max Reeves. I don't think we ever raced actually against each other, but we've been to similar events, and I've said hey to them. But you should. Did you see the Grand Marshal for the NASCAR race?
I did not know.
All right, well, if you look up, he's a little fella, but he can wheel a car. Rue
There
Reeves.
you go.
Yeah. Fun fact. The next NASCAR or the next NASCAR Youth Series event that will be taking place at a NASCAR track. The next one is a dirt series race, which takes place at a local track. But the next NASCAR Youth Series event that takes asphalt event, if you have the chance to go over there, you might hear a familiar voice on the PA system.
Who could that be?
I will be announcing the NASCAR Youth Series Asphalt Championship.
There we go.
At Charlotte Motor Speedway the first weekend of October. So super excited for that. Very blessed to have this opportunity, and hopefully I'll be more involved for the 2024 season. Going into Xfinity, we had 4 NASCAR Cup drivers racing in the Xfinity race.
We did. Yep.
Being, let's see here, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Ross Chastain. John Hunter Nemechek picked up stage wins 1 and 2, but Denny Hamlin would seal the deal for that race. And I'm not going to lie, going into the race on Sunday, it looked like it was going to be a JGR show. All right, we had Christopher Bell starting on pole, Denny Hamlin starting second, led us to green for the 367 lap Southern 500 feature or main event. And the first stage was pretty uneventful. We had a bit of action. We had Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got a pass-through penalty on lap 34. Definitely not how you want to start off your playoff run.
Terrible way. Yep.
Austin Cindric, first one in the Cup Series to get his stripes during the race. The Darlington Stripes, as they call it. That's one of the things I love about Darlington, because it's a driver's track.
Oh, I love the track. It's one of my favorite tracks to drive.
Yeah, that's why I'm not surprised we saw someone like Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick up front. I'm not surprised by that, because it is a very interesting track to drive. The wall exiting turn 2 is like a magnet. All right,
it's so wild.
Yeah.
There's no other corner in NASCAR like it.
Yeah, if you watch as soon as they did the command to fire engines, we had Jeff Burton and Dale Jr. up on the wall explaining it. All right, the cameraman got his Darlington stripes. The cameraman ran into the wall. Seriously, look it up. Look up the broadcast. It was kind of funny, but I mean, it kind of goes to show like the fastest way around that track is this far off the wall all the way around, and it's why I love that track. It's a very older track. Tire wear was a huge talking point. They said that the fuel window was 75 laps, but okay, yeah, the fuel window's that. The tire window isn't.
No, nowhere near that.
No.
Yeah.
I think it was around lap 50 or 60 we started seeing pit stops. Yeah, but Denny Hamlin continued his momentum from Saturday to get the stage 1 win once again. Compared to how Ricky Stenhouse Jr. started his playoff run. Pretty good way for Denny Hamlin to start his playoff run.
His championship of sorts, as like you like to say.
I don't know. I said, because it would have been his.
Here we go.
It might have, because he just signed the contract, which we got. We got later today. Denny Hamlin signs a multi-year contract extension with JGR, which I don't know if I want to say I was surprised by, but I mean, let's be honest. If that contract wasn't getting renewed, we would have seen a third entry for 23-11 next year.
Yeah.
That's kind of what would have happened there. Let's see here. We went back to green with 123 on lap 123 with Hamlin and Reddick leading the field into stage 2. This is interesting. When it was time for the lights to come on, it was a night race, which I always loved night racing. But when the lights decided to come on, the infield lights in 3 and 4 decided not to come on, which later brought out a red flag and a caution, which actually was the second caution of the night. We went under a short red flag, and it was very mixed opinions about it. Kyle Busch didn't really like it. Kyle Larson, however, he said that, there's been, I think Wade County he used it as an example. Wade County Speedway, a dirt track he's raced at. He said, there's barely any lights there at all. So, and I guess that's more of a driver preference thing. I remember Kyle Petty was talking when he was racing and when his dad was racing, Richard Petty was racing. At all the tracks, they only had outside lighting. All right, so it was interesting, but it did eventually become a bit of a safety concern. It was a bit harder to see the lines in 3 and 4, and also that's pit entry. NASCAR doesn't want a driver to lose doesn't want them to get a playoff. Doesn't want them to get a penalty. That's what I was looking for. Doesn't want them to get a penalty off of something they can't necessarily control. So,
right, which is avoidable. They could fix the lights, which they did.
Yeah, if you overshoot the pit box. If you overshoot the orange box, that's a penalty. That's your own fault. If you speed in pit road like we saw a few times, that's your own fault. There was one pit road penalty that was a bit of a controversy that we will get to later. Did you watch the NASCAR race?
I was not able to catch a lot of it, no.
Okay. I had nothing. I was in my dorm the entire Labor Day weekend, so I just sat down and watched racing. But yeah, let's see here. After a short red flag, we went back green on lap 192 with Hamilton and Byron leading. So it's kind of at this point we're starting to see the JGR cars kind of fade, and we're starting to see a bit of the 2 Hendrick guys, playoff guys, come up. Because, let's be honest. Alex Bowman was only talked about when he had an incident with Daniel Suarez, and Chase Elliott was barely talked about at all, right? They're only going to talk about the cars who are up front, and let's be honest, William Byron and Kyle Larson are getting the most attention at Hendrick Motorsports right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah, 100%.
Right? And for a number of different reasons, obviously for the championship, but for a number of different reasons, which we'll get into later. Let's see here. 100, lap 123. Let's see here. On lap 217, the third caution of the night came out after BJ McLeod had an engine failure on the backstretch. Very unfortunate for him. Back to green with 9 laps to go in stage 2 with Hamlin and Larson leading. Like I say, now we're starting to see these Hendrick guys go up. Fourth caution of the night comes out with 5 to go in stage 2 when the number 2 of Austin Cindric and the 54 of Ty Gibbs make contact going into turns 1 and 2. Second week in a row.
Second week in a row.
Second week in a row where we've seen. I feel like this is the second week in a row where we've kind of seen Ty Gibbs' inexperience show. And this week, more than last week, and even last week, it really kind of wasn't his fault because if you
getting
get
turned.
I don't want to say he got turned. He got bumped, which getting bumped in the corner at Daytona. Yeah,
that's a no-no.
That's kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
But we saw a lot of bumping on the front and back stretch here at Darlington.
Oh yeah.
Cars not wanting to give up that momentum. But yeah. Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson led the field to a 1-lap shootout to end stage 2, which could have kept it under caution one more lap, guys. Come on. But I guess it's understandable, which actually when that happened, I thought about something kind of interesting. Now, when a caution comes out with 3 laps to go in NASCAR in the Cup Series, we go into overtime.
Yeah.
Now, say, for example, just say they try and shoot for 5, 6, 7 laps under caution. That's their goal, NASCAR's goal. So if we have a caution with, say, 10 to 9 laps to go, are we going to have a 1-lap shootout to the end? Or would they just say screw it and go into overtime? This is the type of stuff that I think about in racing.
Yeah.
But
I think when it hits that 3-lap mark or that 2-lap mark, that it's always going to carry over.
Yeah.
I don't think we're ever really going to see a 1-lap at the end of a race. At the end of a stage, yes, but at the end of a race, no.
An IndyCar 2023 Indy 500 type deal.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's not going to
I'm not complaining.
Oh, I'm not either.
I'm not complaining. That was a great. I was there, and when I tell you, me and my cousins were going insane. Man, that was a fun race.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to see a place where that will happen. I mean, with 3 to go, yes. With 2 to go, yes. But they're probably not going to call it with 1 to with 1 to go. They're not. It's not going to be a 1-lap shootout.
Yeah.
No, it's going to go to overtime every time.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I was thinking about that because it's just like, what if that situation fell within the, when it came to the end of the last stage. But yeah, Denny Hamlin wins stage 2. Denny Hamlin and Eric Jones led the field to green with 131 laps remaining. Shortly after that, the 6th caution of the night came out after Ryan Newman spins in turn 4 trying to avoid a slowing Tyler Reddick. So Tyler Reddick was in the lead for a good bit with Harvick charging. So Harvick decides to come to pit road.
Yeah.
The caution comes out after he is about a car length from the commitment line of pit road. And as soon as the caution comes out, pit road closes. What is your opinion on that?
If you're already committed, and I think if you're within a certain distance to where you are not able to make,
there was no way he was missing that.
If you are not able to make a safe maneuver to get out of that, I don't think you should be penalized, because if he would have tried, he would have gone right into the orange box. He would have missed the commitment line. He would and got the penalty either way. I mean, it's one of those things where, yes, it's terrible. I don't think it should be as harsh of a reality as it is, but I don't think he should have been. I don't think it should have resulted in what happened, because he can't control it. He's already committed. I didn't see it, but if you are a car length away and that light comes on, yes, it's bad luck. Should it happen? I don't think so. I think there should be a commitment line, not a entry line, but a line before that, to where you say, regardless of what happens once I cross this line, if a caution flies, I am committed to going to pit road. Outside of just that single commitment line, because that ruined Harvick's race.
It did.
Absolutely ruined it, and he was going to win. I'm just going to say that right now. He was going to win that race. I saw the telemetry. He was going to win.
He had probably one of the most, if not the most competitive car out there, and it's difficult for me because it's easy to just kind of wrap it up and say that's racing. It's easy to say that, yes, in racing you have bad luck. All right, it's part of it, and I also understand the position that it puts NASCAR in where, all right, we let this slide. Now they're going to start testing us on how much they will let slide.
Well, exactly.
That, we're going to let slide. And so I feel like I applaud NASCAR for, being like, rules are rules, but I feel bad for Kevin Harvick. Yes, for the consistency in the rules, which in any form of motorsports, in any form of sports, that's always a topic of conversation is consistency and officiating. But at the same time, I feel really bad for Kevin Harvick because with the speed he was going, if he slammed on the brakes, by the time he reacted to it, I don't know if it would have been time enough. And if he did react to it in time, would have he even crossed the line? If he would have turned the wheel, no matter if he would have been aiming for the pit wall or not, he wasn't going to be able to not hit that line. William Byron, if that caution didn't come out a few seconds later, Byron could have been in a bad spot and Harvick would have been good, and
exactly. Say it exactly.
And it's one of those things where we see NASCAR sometimes hold out a bit on a caution where, but there's other times where it feels like, they're just extremely trigger happy with the caution.
Bingo.
So it's he pulled the short stick with that, unfortunately. I was really rooting for Kevin Harvick. I've met the guy in person. He's a fantastic person, super nice person, and I wanted him to go out good on his first race, but, he's going to somewhere like Kansas, where he's proven to be good, he's going to somewhere like and with Bristol where, regardless, he's going to put on a show. He's put on a show with Chase Elliott there in the past. He's put on a show with a number of different drivers there in the past. And I feel like it's kind of, I don't want to chop it up and say that's racing, but there's really rules are rules, and there's very few exceptions. This, I don't think anyone would have been upset. I feel like all the here's what would have happened if they did what they did, and here's what did happen. All the Harvick fans were mad. All the non-Harvick fans were happy.
Yeah.
All right. And if they didn't do it, if they let it slide, all the Harvick fans would have been happy. Non-Harvick fans would have been mad.
Yeah.
All right, and so that's kind of how that goes. And I don't think they really care I think to a certain extent, I don't think they really care what the fans think.
Yeah,
I know. It's very hard. I've never really been in that spot. I have officiated a few races on the club level for the NASCAR Youth Series at Music City Quarter Midgets. And, and there, I put all bias aside. I'm buddies with a few of the kids who race out there, but I put all bias aside. And yeah. But at the same time, when it comes to NASCAR, where I don't know, it's very odd, it's very weird. There wasn't, no one was going to be not everyone was going to be happy with whatever decision they made.
Oh right? Yeah, it was a catch-22, and it's
they
NASCAR
followed
was
the
putting
rules.
They did technically.
These are our rules. It sucks that this is the situation you were in. All right, you're playing football. You catch yourself falling. You accidentally grab some dude's face mask to try and catch yourself. You didn't do it intentionally, but you still did a face mask.
It's same.
But
exactly.
That's kind of how I saw it. Let's see here. Kyle Larson and Chris Buescher led the field back to green with 51 laps to go, and then Bowman and Suarez were in the middle of an intense battle.
That was wild. I watched that part.
It looked like they were fighting for the win, and they were in the playoffs. These guys aren't in the playoffs; they're just racing.
Exactly.
Right? Threw a late block at Suarez, putting them both in the wall, collecting Harrison Burton in the process, who is just an innocent bystander. Wrong place, wrong time. See it all the time in racing. All this while trying to enter turn one, and I feel like turn one here is very similar to turn one at the Indy road course, where, the front stretch, you have a lot of room to race, and then it funnels down into this where, so it's not a double yellow line, which means you are allowed to race and pass below that line. Below the dotted white line that they have at Darlington. However, it's not the ideal racing line.
Yeah.
So they're fighting for the same piece of real estate. Got them both into the wall. But I will say this: that is the most mad I've ever seen Daniel Suarez. Well, no, that's a lie. He got into a bit of a tussle a few years back in qualifying at a track, but that's the most I've ever seen him mad on on TV. And and to some people he wasn't really even that mad, but you get a pretty down-to-earth guy like that, pretty chill guy like that, saying those kind of things. He's just being stupid. Don't know what he was doing.
It was a very interesting move because obviously Bowman tried to block and then tried to block again. And it's tough when you do a double block because something's going to happen. Suarez technically had the position a little bit, but it was just one of those tough situations that obviously collected Harrison Burton. And it was just unfortunate on that side for them. So it's good to see Suarez get involved and stuff. I mean, he was on the bubble to make the playoffs. So is Bowman, but it's good to see them still battling. So,
these guys. It doesn't matter if they weren't in the playoffs to begin with. These guys are still going to be fighting to win. All right, we saw that last year at Bristol with Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher didn't even make the playoffs, but he was still fighting out. He was still fighting for wins, and he got the win at Bristol. That was really good to see. We restarted with 40 to go. Once again, Larson and Buescher leading us to green. 3 laps later, we had a caution come out, collecting 3 playoff drivers, being Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, and Michael McDowell. So we saw a lot of mistakes from both playoff drivers and non-playoff drivers. All right. I'm unaware if Ricky Stenhouse Jr., if this is his first playoff appearance or not. I don't want to say it is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is. But he doesn't have a lot of playoff experience, all right?
No, not at all.
He doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. And so the speeding on pit road penalty he got early in the race, everyone gets a speeding on pit road penalty. And that you could probably chop that up to be jitters, if you will, racing jitters. But yeah. We went back green with 31 to go. Kyle Larson. Carl Larson led the last 31 laps with a very hard-charging Tyler Reddick. I think he got with just under 0.2 of a second within there, and then he just kind of started falling off. Kyle Larson was running the optimal line there. Kyle Larson is one of the best I've ever seen at reading a track, seeing where the fast line is, something I wish I had. He understands when it's better. He knows when it's faster to run to bottom, and he knows when it's fast. But he has that dirt track experience where he's not scared to run right up against the wall, right? We've seen it at Bristol. We've seen it at Charlotte. We've seen it at Homestead. He is not scared of the wall. And I feel like that is something, and I see it all the time with, local short tracks, which, I go to local short tracks all the time. The ones who are good at the local short tracks are the ones who are not scared of the wall. Parker Kligerman, Xfinity Series driver for Big Machine Racing. Another team that us Tennesseans cheer for, being a Tennessee-based team.
Exactly.
Parker Kligerman said that there is that you go to any short track in the United States, like there's over 700 dirt tracks in the United States. All right, you will find NASCAR level talent.
Yeah.
All right, like you have a group of guys who run the same. Like you run a series that races at a track consistently, you'll find 1, maybe 2 guys there who are NASCAR level talent. And and it's. I remember I forget his name, but there's one kid who drives Bandoleros on the national circuit with the Legend cars, who is not scared of the wall at all. It's insane. But yeah, it's Kyle Larson. He wins it. Kyle Larson leads the last 31 laps to take the 7,500 win. Advances to the next round of playoffs. He kind of gets to chill out these next 2 rounds. Not necessarily chill out, but he's not as worried as having a bad race as the other 15 drivers are.
Exactly.
With that win, however, Hendrick Motorsports engine department got their 500th National Series win.
That's wild.
That is. All right,
Yeah.
I think Hendrick Motorsports is they are truly, I mean, they have the most wins of any NASCAR team in the Cup Series. And it's insane the numbers that team pulls. All right.
Yeah, it is. And they just won their 299th race too with Kyle Larson.
That is
which
true.
Means they're
yes,
one away from 300.
Yes, and so that's insane. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that by the end of the year. Pretty sure that'll be a big celebration. I know the engine department had a big celebration at Hendrick Motorsports, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big celebration for the 300th win. You know, because I mean it takes everyone from the drivers and the mechanics, who go to the races every week to the receptionists at the front desk. It takes an army to build a team like this. It takes an army to build a legacy of a football team like we see with the Patriots or the Packers. Same with the Yankees in baseball or Cleveland Cavaliers in basketball. Right? It takes a team. It takes a army of people. And in my opinion, not if, when Hendrick gets that 300th win, the person who wins, it doesn't matter if you're the person who wins the race or, like I said, the person who works at the front desk in the front office, congratulations to you.
Oh, absolutely.
It is the stuff that goes on behind the scenes at race shops that I feel like so many people don't understand, which I haven't been a part of on a NASCAR size scale, but I've been a part of on a legend car national size scale a little bit, and then on a local semi-regional racing scale. The stuff people don't see is insane. Mm-hmm. All right, there's no telling how many times they've stayed up. There's no telling how many late nights there are, and it's Hendrick Motorsports, and I would even say as much as Wood Brothers, with their history within the sport, as well as someone like Legacy Motor Club with Petty GMS, all right, with Richard Petty. He understands the late nights at the shop. He understands that stuff. And, I am getting on a little bit of a rant here with this, and I'll wrap it up in a pretty bow here soon. But whenever a car wins a race, everyone who is involved with that organization deserves a congratulations. I don't care what you do. You deserve a congratulations. But let's look ahead into the future. Kansas predictions. I got a bit of a wild card for who I think might pull off the win there.
Okay, give me your pick.
Bubba Wallace. I feel like it's his best possible.
It's funny you said that. Yep, because I was thinking along the same lines. It's a Toyota. Denny Hamlin won here in the spring, obviously.
A Toyota-based driver, yeah.
With Kyle Larson.
Bit of a controversial one, which, even though Larson has that set spot in the playoffs, he'd still be like, hey, I don't care about that. You got me here, I'm getting you back. And race car drivers don't forget until it's even, all right? And,
exactly.
And some, it boils over that too, but I feel like this is 23XI's best chance to get into the next round of the playoffs.
It is. I think it's probably their only chance. It's their only chance because right now they're below the cut line. They are
both.
1 point.
Are both?
1 point. Who?
I'm talking about 23XI as a whole.
Yeah, Bubba Wallace. Oh,
okay. Well, yeah.
Bubba Wallace is below the cut line, but Tyler Reddick. I think Tyler Reddick could win.
Tyler Reddick has a few more chances to shine, but I feel like here's what I think. Looking at the NASCAR schedule, I feel like for Bubba Wallace, this is his best chance to be able to get into the round of 12. And when it comes to the round of 12, I feel like his best chance of getting into the round of 8 has to be Talladega. All right? And that's not saying
I agree.
It's not saying because Talladega is a wild card race, he has super speedway. He's good at super speedways.
Exactly. Right? I mean, he finished 4th in the spring at Kansas too, and he's always at the top of super speedways. So, looking at the top 5 of the spring Kansas race, you have Denny Hamlin 1, you have Bubba Wallace 4th, you have Reddick leading 23 laps, finishing in 9th, and Truex finishing 8th and leading 79. So you have 4 Toyotas out of the 6 that are fielded in the series in the top 10. So
yeah,
it's definitely a good run.
Kansas
now.
is definitely Kansas is definitely a Toyota. Good for the Toyota drivers.
100%. I think it could be one of those Toyota guys. I'm right there with you. I think Tyler Reddick. The reason why, finished 2nd. Denny Hamlin's already got a win at Kansas. I know Bubba has a win. I think Tyler Reddick is in a state where he knows momentum matters. Yes, he's 3rd in the playoffs. Yes, he's going to be in. I think it matters. I think my pick is Tyler Reddick wins at Kansas.
Really? Okay. We got Tyler Reddick in a Toyota, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, and Christopher Bell. Then below the cut line, we've got Bubba Wallace. So we got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers who have a pretty good chance of making. It's the odds are kind of stacked in their favor. I mean, that's a Toyota-friendly track. That's the word I was looking for. I didn't want to say favorite. I wanted to say friendly. It's a Toyota-friendly track. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw but I feel like Denny Hamlin is probably saying, all right, whatever setup we had in the spring, put that setup on the car for this, and let's go try and sweep Kansas this year, all right? Because as much as Denny Hamlin would love to see one of his cars advance to the next round or one of his cars in the Final Four, Danny Hamlin. I almost said Danny Rick for some reason, Daniel Ricciardo. But
plot twist: Daniel Ricciardo is the new driver for the number 11 FedEx Toyota Camry.
I would love to see Daniel Ricciardo in NASCAR. He wanted to be in NASCAR, but we're getting off topic.
Imagine Austin Dillon gets replaced by Daniel Ricciardo. Into 3.
That would. Hey, I wouldn't.
That'd be cool.
That's an actual possibility. All right. But let's see here. But yeah, I feel like with Denny Hamlin, he still has a job to do. All right. Let's be honest.
Right.
Yes, he has a lot of stuff going on, but a part of that paycheck from JGR goes to 2311 for that business, and so. I feel like that's why we're seeing him stay at JGR is because I don't know because let's be honest, Michael Jordan, that's an investment for him. All right, he's at the races, okay, and I'm not 100% sure how hands-on he is. He could be in the office every day. You never know, but I don't personally. I don't really see him as hands-on. I feel like Denny Hamlin is more hands-on because he understands the sport a lot more. Yes, Michael Jordan has been a fan of the sport for a long time, but Denny Hamlin's been in the sport for a long time. All right.
Yep. There's a difference. There's a big difference.
And so it's very much so I feel like I don't know if 2311 is in a position to where Denny Hamlin can work there and support his life, his family, and everything, like he probably can with JGR, a more established team. So that's going to be interesting to see the way that plays out. I don't think we got much more left. I don't
think so either.
Only thing we got left is playoff predictions. So I asked you last week. I asked you again this week. I'm gonna go back. I got it pulled up right here. So bottom 4 right now: Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse, Kevin Harvick, Bubba Wallace. And then top 4 above the line, we got Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, Christopher Bell. Who's not making it? Who's getting out? And who's getting out this round?
I say Stenhouse. Well, I'll say. Let me take that back. When it comes to the drivers who are going to be out, it's going to be very hard for McDowell to come back. With being so many points back, he's going to have
He's
Bubba Wallace have a bad day. Yeah. Bubba Wallace have a bad day. Kevin Harvick have a bad day. Stenhouse have a bad day. Purely off of points, I say McDowell's not going to make it. I think that the fact that the playoff bubble is so close, I mean, you have 3 points or you have 5 points separating 11th and 14th. I think Christopher Bell makes it. I think Joey Logano makes it. I think Kevin Harvick makes it. It's hard to tell. Bubba's going to have a very good day. Yeah. And his only chance is to do well at Kansas. Can he follow up and have a strong run at Bristol? Maybe. I mean, if you look at last year's Bristol race, he finished in 29th. He can't have that happen. He cannot finish in 29th. He will be out of the playoffs. Purely off of that, I say McDowell's going to be out. I say Wallace is going to be out. I say it's tough because those last 4 spots are really, really crucial. I say Stenhouse is out. I'll make a bold claim here. Harvick in, Logano out.
Really? Okay.
Harvick in. I think Harvick has a good run. I know. Yeah, because I know Joey Logano. He finished 6th in the spring at Kansas. Logano is obviously a player, but if you look last year at Bristol, he finished back in 27th. He's kind of one of those drivers where he's getting collected in things. So my last 4 out, I say McDowell, Stenhouse, Wallace, and Logano.
I'm gonna kind of, and honestly, I've got a pretty similar prediction there too. I feel like what we see right now, unless Bubba Wallace is able to kind of pull something out, either have a win or a really good finish at and good stage finishes at Kansas next week, I feel like that's kind of his only chance to really put himself in a good position going into the next round. But if he doesn't do that, I see the playoff bubble saying kind of where it's at. And I'm going to say the same. I have 3 drivers who could possibly be in that last spot: Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, and Kevin Harvick. The reason I say that is because they have not had very head-turning seasons, all right? They have not had very, he wasn't one of those guys like William Byron, like Denny Hamlin, like Martin Truex, where they were a decent pick to win every week, and we haven't really seen that out of Kevin Harvick that much. Sure. We saw it a bunch out of Joey Logano last year, and we didn't really see, and then once it came playoff time, which we might see this again with Christopher Bell, we didn't hear Christopher Bell's name much last year during the regular season, and then once we get to the postseason with the playoffs, he was there when he needed to be there the most. And
exactly, which Bell has a good chance to win at Bristol. He finished 4th in the last year's cutoff race, which
and he's got that short track experience.
His ticket. That's why I put Bell above them. Above those guys. So I agree. I agree with that. Actually.
All right. So I asked you last week your final 4 and your champion for next week.
Same.
Really?
It's going to be the same.
So
it's going to be the same.
You had Hamlin,
Larson,
Byron, Buescher.
And Buescher.
Okay. Buescher's your long shot.
He needed this week. He needed a good finish at Darlington, which he's got because he's 27 to the good.
Yeah.
He's going to be strong at Bristol. He's one of my top 2 picks to win at Bristol. Keselowski and Buescher. I mean, and Larson's already going to make it in, which
Larson's already guaranteed into the next round.
So and Byron having a 45-point advantage, he's going to have a DNF and then a really bad day. So, which Kansas is one of his best tracks, and Bristol, he finished 3rd. So, he finished 3rd in the spring at Kansas. He finished 3rd last year in the Bristol race.
But you also have to look at
sense.
You're looking at the last 2 races of this round, okay? Yes, from what you're telling me, it sounds like they have a good chance of getting out of this round. All right, we have. We have Texas, which they only have 1 race there this year. They don't have any notes on how the track was earlier this year. Talladega, wild card race, as is any super speedway race. You have Charlotte Roval, which always throws a mix into the wrench. Then, if they get through that, then they got Las Vegas. All right, yes, Byron has a decent chance there. And for the past, I think it's been a pretty decent trend. If you win at Las Vegas, statistically you have a good chance of winning in Phoenix. But let's look at Homestead. Homestead is very much a driver's track as well. All right, that's a multi-groove racetrack, but then you also look at Martinsville. So I feel for William Byron, I feel like he's got a good chance at Kansas or Bristol, yes. I don't know about Texas, and I don't know about anyone at Texas because
I don't either.
We
Blaney,
haven't had
Blaney is my only lock. If I say Blaney gets into the round of,
Blaney makes it into next round,
the round of eight, to get into the round of eight, he's going to have to win at Texas, which he's done.
Yeah.
So
and Blaney, the way it's looking right now for Blaney, he might be one of those drivers who we might be talking about next week, who's kind of below there at the cut line.
On that cut line, exactly.
Yeah, and Talladega, wild card race. All right, and
can't tell you who's going to win that.
Can't
one.
tell you.
No.
Charlotte, maybe. We saw William Byron win at Watkins Glen this year. All right, he's proven he's got some road course talent as well. And he has kind of that intermediate oval type talent as well, which is it's the Roval. It's a combination of the oval and the road course. With Las Vegas, if William Byron makes it to the reason I say if is because it's the NASCAR playoffs. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Christopher Bell was on no one's radar last year, and he was in the championship 4. All right,
exactly.
So anything can happen. So if he makes it to the round of 8, I feel like he has a very good chance at Las Vegas. Semi-good chance at Homestead. I feel like he's going to have to fight with his teammate Kyle Larson.
He's won there before. He's won there before.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he has or hasn't.
Yep.
And Martinsville, so I feel like if he makes it to the round of 8, I'm going to be honest, if William Byron makes it to the round of 8, he has a very good chance because all right, he has a win. He's got to win at Vegas. He's got to win at Homestead. I'm almost positive he has a win at Martinsville. I know he has a few poles. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a win or two at Martinsville. And he's got to win at Phoenix. All right. I feel like this round and next round are for William Byron. If he makes it through this round and next round, I don't want to say it's easy sailing because it's the NASCAR playoff. It's racing. Anything can happen. All right?
Exactly.
Anything can happen. So
who's your picks? Who are your picks?
My 4, I got to go Byron. I got to go Larson after the performance, he pulled this year.
Okay.
This past race.
Is that a change? Well, no, you said Byron, Larson, Truex, and Hamlin. I think that's what you said last week, right? Okay.
That's what I said last week. I'm going to keep 3 of them. I'm going to keep Byron. I'm going to keep Larson. I'm going to keep Hamlin.
Ooh.
I'm looking at the playoffs right now. Let me go back to I'm looking at the grid. Let me look at the actual point standings right now.
You got Buescher plus 27, Hamlin plus 27, Truex
Reddick.
plus 25.
Reddick.
I like that pick. If you look at what's coming up there in the schedule, he's obviously in a comfortable spot, but he has
Kansas. He has a good chance to make it in next week.
Yep, the Roval could be his weekend.
That could be.
And, talking about specifically Homestead, running the high line, could be his way to get in there.
He's one of those guys who understands that high line.
Exactly. And that's where I think that could come into play. Those 2 races could be his ticket to the championship 4. I like that pick. That pick.
It's, all right, so last question, and then we can round this podcast off. Who's your championship pick?
At this point, it's still going to be Byron. I mean,
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I'm going to have to see what happens in round 12 to really.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about because he does run up front at super speedways, but he hasn't had. He's won at Daytona, but he hasn't had that same kind of success, just like Daytona. Yeah. And with his success, the Roval was really worrying me. But since he won at Watkins Glen, I like that. I'm still saying it's gonna be Byron purely because of where he sits in the points too. Not even
I don't blame you.
The track. If he has a bad race, he has a little bit of a cushion going into the rounds where he knows that he's gonna have to perform well, which would be the round of 12 or the round of 8. If he makes it to the round of 8 and has any cushion, he's going to pack that cushion up. Because if he can win, think about this. Could it happen? Could he win the championship off of points going into Phoenix? If something happens to Larson, because Larson's only 1 point behind
Win the
him.
championship of a point. Oh, okay. You're like, he doesn't. Okay. I mean, the points are equal going into
Are they equal? I thought you had don't some carry over? No, you're right. They don't carry over. It's the highest finisher. It's the highest.
It's the highest
Never
finisher.
mind.
Yeah. So I mean, the only
mind.
way he would really technically win off of points is if a non-playoff driver won the race in Phoenix. But for me, the championship, I'm torn between three of my top three.
Yeah.
It's not Reddick. I feel like he doesn't have that longevity experience.
Sure.
And I'm torn more between two drivers than I am three drivers. So, and the reason is because William Byron and Denny Hamlin. Those are my two. All right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
I kind of said it as a joke last week, but I've thought about it a lot. Yes. No one is ever satisfied with one championship. Kyle Larson wants to get a championship. All right. He wants to get another championship. You know, he has potential to be one of the greats. All right. And I'm just going to say it. With this next gen car, if he's able to pull it off, I feel like Larson, Logano, say what you want about him, Logano, maybe Byron. Those have, with this next gen car, those guys have figured it out better than anyone. All right, especially
Yep.
Logano. All right, first race we ever had with the car, he wins. All right,
He won.
First,
Yep.
all right, first time we were ever at Gateway with the next gen car, he wins. All right, and then the first year he wins the championship. All right, now you have someone like Kyle Larson, who is one of those guys who can just get in anything and wheel it. All right, doesn't matter if it's a dirt outlaw kart or a NASCAR stock car. He has the talent to make it happen.
Oh God, yeah.
And I feel like if it comes down to this, overtime, green, white, checkered finish, William Byron, Denny Hamlin front row, all right, at Phoenix. If it comes down to this, it's going to come down to one thing. Who wants it more?
Byron. Because if you think about the Hamlin and Byron incident that happened a while back, Byron's had that in his back pocket. Byron's kept that in his back pocket for a while.
Yes.
There was an incident between them.
But how long has William Byron been in the Cup Series?
Correct.
Compared to Denny Hamlin, and how many times has Denny Hamlin been in position to win a championship, has lost it, compared to William Byron? All right, this year is the first year we've seen we're like, holy crap, this is the first time the 24 car has been a contender for the championship since Jeff Gordon's last full-time season. All right?
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you this. If it comes down to who wants it more, and they race cleanly, it's going to be Hamlin.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do. Honestly, I'll change mine back to Hamlin because he doesn't have one. He doesn't have a championship, and I'm going to play
He's won the 500. He's won the Southern 500. He's won the Coke 6. He's won these big crown jewel events. There is an empty spot in that man's trophy case that has been there for years, and it is specifically reserved for the Cup Series championship, and I do not believe that he will retire until he wins that championship.
I think he will. I don't think he's going to win it. I think history is going to hold true. He hasn't executed the end. I just don't think I just don't think obviously the odds are in his favor. I agree with where they are on the points, but
he's got more Final Four experience.
His execution in the end hasn't been there.
It's like Bubba Wallace on a super speedway.
Exactly. Unless it rains. But it's.
I'm not the only one who can say stupid stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's going to win it. Now, I may be completely wrong, and we'll have to pull this clip, and you'll have to make fun of me, and the entire NASCAR fan base will make fun of me, which I don't think anybody really wants to see Hamlin win, but purely off the numbers, purely off of the other drivers, I put Truex in that spot before Hamlin with the JGR team because Truex has had a better year. I think Truex is going to want it more. Not want it more. I think Truex will be able to execute at a higher level versus Denny Hamlin. Yeah. Obviously, Denny Hamlin, a lot of controversy this year.
And I'm still torn. I feel like Truex still could probably be. I feel like it might be a battle between. I still feel like it could be a battle between. What is it?
JGR
between
and Hendrick.
JGR and Hendrick, all right? And if Tyler Reddick gets... All right? And here's the thing. If Tyler Reddick gets into the championship 4, Denny Hamlin's got a 50% chance at a pretty good payday. All right?
Oh, yeah, 100%, because his team's going to win no matter what. Well, I don't think he's going to win. So 25%.
But it's...
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I agree.
It's kind of the same thing that we saw at the 2001 Daytona 500, you know? The reason Dale Earnhardt Sr. played defense was because he sees one of his cars leading the Daytona 500. In second place, he has another one of his cars, and he's in third, okay? I think I did the math. At the time, he was looking at a $3 million payday.
Yeah.
He's already won the Daytona 500. He's already won 7 NASCAR Cup Series championships. He played defense, okay? And I don't blame him. And that brings up another question. Same scenario. Three green, white, checkered scenario, okay? Only difference, Reddick, Hamlin, front row.
Oh, Hamlin's sending that in. He doesn't care.
Hamlin doesn't care.
He doesn't have one. No, he doesn't have one. He doesn't care.
I feel like it's one of those old sayings where we're all friends till the helmets go on. You know, we're all friends till the visor goes down. To the green flag.
Hamlin's going to put anybody into the wall. Now, if it's Chastain's not a playoff driver, is he?
Suarez isn't. Chastain is.
That's what I flip-flopped them for, I don't know why. Yeah. Now, that could be an interesting topic if Chastain and Hamlin battle it out at Phoenix after their history at Phoenix. Now, if Chastain makes the top 4,
Chastain could have something to prove. I think they have something going on this year. I think it's called 357, and they call it they're using it as motivation because Ross Chastain finished second last year in the championship by 357 feet. And I think it's a mentality they've had. I could be wrong. It's 300 and something, but it's a mentality they've had, and that's a big thing that they've always had at Trackhouse is their mentality. All right.
Yeah, they're mental juggernauts.
Oh, without a doubt, you know. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we could talk till tomorrow about this, you know.
We could. Either way, Byron's my lock. You still think probably Hamlin?
I feel like Hamlin just wants it more.
I think it could be there.
I was kind of joking last week, but now I just feel like it just seems like he wants it more. All right, I mean, it's an empty trophy case, which it's got to suck. And but he's got to want it more.
He does, but and who knows? We'll know in 9 weeks when we go to Phoenix who that champion's going to be. So that I think will conclude our 5th episode of the Flag to Flag podcast. Thank you all for listening this far. If you've already listened this far, we would love for you to subscribe and or like this video on YouTube or give us a rating on Spotify. That's where our podcast is, as well as follow us on all of our social channels, flag to flag _podcast on Instagram and flag to flag podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and obviously YouTube. So we appreciate you all for tuning in. Chad still thinks Hamlin's going to win the championship, and I just don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to ride my bias and say Byron's going to win, but we'll get you back next week with a lot of other motorsports news coming out. No F1. IndyCar, obviously, is going to be in Laguna Seca this weekend, I believe, for the championship, so we'll be covering that. We'll be covering NASCAR's coverage going into Kansas. Other than that, though, I think that wraps it up. We've reached a checkered flag.
If you would like to hear your racetrack, your local racetrack on the Flag to Flag podcast, or if you would like to suggest something for us to talk about on the Flag to Flag podcast, do not hesitate to email flagtoflag10@gmail.com or hit us up on any one of our social media platforms that John just mentioned.